What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to District Baseball. I am your host, Trey. You can follow me on Twitter at reverse, 2R's, 2S's. And you can follow the show at District BSB. Today, we are going to be doing our big Nationals prediction episode, preseason, pretty much everything that you want to know. We've got most of the roster has been finalized, so we're going to be giving a bunch of awards and just talking about what we think is going on for the season. But first, a little housekeeping, because I'm not by myself. The coach is back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined by Nick, and we are going to be doing this one together. Nick, what's going on with you, buddy?
Oh boy, it is good to be back. First time, I was going to say long time host, first time guest, I guess is kind of the the position I'm in now. But no, it's good to be back. Obviously, coaching is in full swing. It's consuming my life at this point. But love talking ball. Obviously, a lot to discuss with the Nats going on recently, and hopefully it's a good sign of things to come, a stepping stone for bigger and better things in 2026 and beyond. But we're going to talk about 2025 first, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yep, and I think we will be getting to the predictions in the 2025 season, but there are a few things that I thought was worth mentioning about the Nats outside of the game itself. We'll start with the Masson dispute, which has been an ongoing issue between the Nationals and Orioles for basically since the inception of the Nationals.
Yep.
There was some progress made over last year where the Nationals received some of their money, or there was agreement that the Nationals would receive some of their revenue from some of the years in the 2010s. But now it's been completely paved over. There's a 1-year deal for this year, and then after that, the Nationals are fully free to explore any other TV deal option that they want, and they will be getting that revenue back from these last few seasons from 2021 to 2025. So that revenue should help ingest a little bit of money into this team, theoretically, of course. But yeah, what do you think about the Masson dispute being over? Because personally, I didn't really care that much. I just wanted it to be over so I didn't have to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, that's basically where I was at. The Masson deal has never been good. Everyone's kind of known that for a while now. But it is nice to have clarity, right? We understand this is the final year of Masson, and the Nats, kind of like many other teams, will kind of be free to explore options in 2026 and beyond. But the RSNs, the regional sports networks, they're obviously all over baseball. That's how baseball is primarily consumed at this point. It's not streaming and things like that. We get into some of the other stuff later, but point being, I think MLB, Major League Baseball, knows that it has to do something different. RSNs won't go away completely because, again, there's 162 games per team, so you're not going to be able to nationally televise all of them like you would for football, and you're not going to be able to nationally televise the majority of them like you would for basketball. So they have to do something different. That nobody plays as many games as those in baseball do. So streaming is obviously the primary avenue for future consumption of games, and obviously it's just accessible. In theory, you get rid of the blackouts and things like that, but obviously that's much more of a large scale MLB thing. As far as the Nats, it's perfect, right? You get one last deal. Obviously we're going to talk about Bob Carpenter here in a second, but it's one final year of the way things are, and then we know for 2026 and beyond, we can finally do our thing. And a lot of the points we're going to touch on in these next couple are more so like the Nats getting more freedom than they've ever had before off the field, right? To do things and run their operations in ways they haven't been able to because they have been handcuffed by the Masson deal, because they have been handcuffed by other things. So it's exciting, and it couldn't be better timing, because obviously we're in the middle of this kind of redoing what the Nats are kind of thing right now.
Yeah, and clarity. That's the word you used, and I think that's a good good way to describe it. Just not having the cloud over their heads anymore, and knowing that they have freedom.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, obviously with the Bally Sports issues that they've had with bankruptcy and selling off to FanDuel and stuff, and RSNs and just the way that we consume sports streaming is gonna change a lot in the next probably half decade here. So especially for baseball, because like you said, they can't possibly show the majority of the games nationally. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see how that pans out over the next couple years, and honestly how it pans out in the next CBA as well.
Yep.
But yeah, you mentioned Bob as well. So yeah, this was announced before any of the MASN stuff. I believe last year Bob said that this would be his final year calling games. He's already been kind of in and out of the booth with Kolko kind of taking over some more of the road games, more of the road responsibilities, unless Bob's traveling to see family in Florida, I believe. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's getting older, and he's been doing this for, I mean, what?
Ever.
4 or 5 decades at this point.
Yeah.
So obviously, if he feels like it's time to retire, we're not going to be upset over that. We want him to go and enjoy himself. And honestly, you know, whatever criticism you might have for Bob's calls or anything like that, I know people have clowned some of the calls, like the specific one from 2020 where he couldn't see the Juan Soto big bomb.
Yeah.
It wasn't really his fault, but like, you know, but like for the most part, I would say Bob's done a fantastic job, and he's just a really good dude who loves the sport. And that's kind of what I feel like that's what you're looking for from your commentators, guys that are just gonna get in there and talk ball and talk about your squad in a positive way. And I think Bob did that for a very long time. And I'm definitely sad to see him go, but I wish him the best.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, you could never question his passion. You could never question how much he cared. You know, I there's obviously some really, really good and talented announcers across sports, but in baseball in particular. But there are some where it's just like you'll see a clip of a play. I'm not going to call anyone out. I don't want to piss off any fans or anything. I mean, you know. But there's certain clips of announcers where they could not sound more indifferent towards the play on field. And it could be a highlight play, it could be a walk-off home run, and they're just kind of like, and that's the game. Like, it, you know, it was never like that with Bob. He always cared. He dealt through, you know, the COVID and being remote because MASN wouldn't have them on site. He dealt with numerous different partners, just a kind of revolving door of partners, and obviously that's difficult in terms of chemistry, the give and take, the back and forth. You know, he worked through all of that. Yeah, he has some moments where we had him on the OG show, High Heat, back in the day. And he even admitted, like, the Luis Garcia debut home run during COVID, like he completely botched that call because he couldn't tell if it was a home run, right? But point being, like, he's acknowledged his mistakes, and again, that one I don't really even blame him for, but like, when you're in the booth for 5 decades or however long it's been, you're going to have one or two that you would like back. It's just kind of the way it goes. But, you know, Bob's been a staple for a long time. And, you know, with the MASN deal, obviously Bob is tied to MASN, but with the MASN deal ending and things kind of changing, and we're kind of looking, you know, towards the next 10 years as opposed to back at the last 10 years, it's fitting that he gets his proper send-off like he deserves. And, yeah, like you said, wish him all the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like the passion. Like,
yeah.
Bob does the scorebook. He's done the scorebook every single game ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes dedication.
That's his thing, yeah.
That takes extreme dedication and work ethic. So, huge respect to Bob. Wish him the best. And then finally, outside of the actual team, finally, jersey patch and stadium sponsorships. Now, jersey patches haven't really been a thing for that long, so I kind of get why they haven't done that. But the stadium naming sponsorship thing that's been a thing in baseball for a very long time, and the Nationals never did it. Now, I will say I like calling Nationals Park. That's cool. But if it means that we can get some more players on the actual field, I'm down. I've seen some projections about what the Nationals might be getting in terms of dollar value for some of these. The stadium naming per year is projected around $5 million from the Washington Times, and the jersey sponsor would be $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's good money. I mean, that's any amount is good, but that's pretty damn good.
It's not Patrick Corbin money, but it's something.
That's Texas Rangers legend Patrick Corbin to you. But yeah, so that's definitely a big deal. And at this point, not that I even believe that there was, but there is no excuse now going into next year to not bolster this core with free agent signings. And that's kind of where we're at. Like, I believed that the Masson dispute wasn't enough in the first place, but now there really isn't anything that you can say that is preventing them from spending money. Like, they can do it. So, first of all, what do you think of this? Second of all, why do you think the sponsor will be Walgreens?
Obviously, good move. The jersey sponsor, like jersey patches, I still don't love, but I get.
I don't love them either.
That's just the way the game's moving. We wouldn't be the first, or we're not the first league to advertise on our jerseys. It's basically across all sports except for football now. And football's king. They don't really have money issues, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, so the jersey patches, it is what it is. Did you see the Mariners one?
I did not, actually.
So theirs is actually an awesome jersey patch. It's the Nintendo Switch. So
I did see Nintendo was
doing
some
super cool, right? It's not some like local insurance company that no one's ever heard of, and it's just a big eyesore. But the Mariners one is a big eyesore because it's a big ass red patch on the teal green sleeve of the Mariners jersey, so it is an eyesore. So you would have hoped that it would go together, even if it was a black patch, something. But I get it is what it is. No, but back to the Nats, like this makes all the sense in the world, especially the stadium sponsor. I think that's the big one, because there's not many stadiums, parks, whatever, across sports that aren't sponsored by, in some sort of company. And that's why you see these stadium names change every so often, because that contract runs out, whether it's 10 years, 12 years, whatever it may be. Like FedEx Field was just rebranded to Northwestern Financial
something,
which for kind of
cares
various
stadium?
reasons, but. Point being, that's like the Staples Center isn't even the Staples Center anymore, and that's like
it is.
It is, but yeah,
that's never not going to be
right.
That's how I feel about Miller Park.
Exactly,
Miller Park is always Miller Park.
Yeah,
I
not
don't care
American
what it's called.
Friend Financial Union Credit, whatever,
private equity firm.
Yeah, exactly. So it just makes all the sense in the world. I get Nationals Park is cool, but maybe it'll be so and so field at Nationals Park, similar how like the Camden Yards is the full Oriole Park at Camden Yards is like the full one there. So
you can still call it Nats Park, which is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, again, the common language is always going to be Nats Park, but this is going to give money back to the team to hopefully be reinvested in the team. That's a whole separate argument. But again, like they announced this with the Masson resolution. So to me, because this is kind of like these things were, more off the field stuff. To me, it feels like the learners are kind of addressing all of the concerns potential buyers had with putting the team on the market. And I know they've kind of walked back that statement since then, but in my opinion, if you're interested in selling the team, that doesn't just go away, right? You just didn't get the offer you wanted. That's what it comes down to. I think the Angels owner, his name's escaping me, but he had Art, Moreno, right?
Yeah.
But then didn't the Twins just get sold, or they're looking to sell as well? Point being, like, everything can happen really quickly. Like, the Orioles announced they were selling after the Nationals and sold their team within, like, 24 hours. So these things can happen really quickly. You don't have to have this, like, public announcement that you're selling or putting the team on the market and then having this long, drawn-out negotiation thing like some teams do. But for this, it feels like it could happen pretty quickly. Not necessarily to any one owner like a Leonsis, but it could happen pretty quickly because now you have clarity on the Masson situation. You're providing more money on a year-to-year basis based on the sponsorships with the stadium and the jersey, right? So that's money coming in that won't have to necessarily be fronted by the new ownership. And Corbin's off the books. You don't have any money committed anywhere, which is a whole different argument we'll talk about here. But point being, it's a logical step in many ways. It feels like they're kind of just, it's almost like getting your house ready to sell. Like, you're staging it, you're making sure everything is taken care of, you replace the floors, things like that. That's kind of what it feels like the Nats are doing. But it's a good thing for the fans too, and for the team. Like, even though they might not immediately reinvest into the team, it's good that we have this resolution, so that way we can focus more on the on-field stuff moving forward.
Yep, and we'll be definitely having discussions about that throughout the season, whether the learners end up selling, which I feel like they're still in play to sell, like you said, even though they've said that they won't. But, and then obviously going into next offseason, we'll have to talk about the spending and how they're going to do that. But for now, I think we can move on to the actual on-field product. Finally, March 22nd. It's almost baseball season for real. Spring training doesn't count, and it's go time. So let's talk a little bit about. Let's go ahead. I'll go over the roster first, the known roster, because there's a few spots left, but the known roster, these guys are pretty much guaranteed to be on the team, barring injury. So the rotation is like fully known at this point. It's going to be Mackenzie Gore, Trevor Williams, Jake Irvin, Michael Soroka, and Mitchell Parker, which wasn't my initial prediction, but it was pretty close. I had hers instead of Soroka there, but they definitely want to see what they can get out of him as a starter. And then the lineup itself will probably look something like this. Shortstop C.J. Abrams, right fielder Dylan Cruz, left fielder James Wood, DH Josh Bell, first base Nathaniel Lowe, second base Luis Garcia Jr., third base Paul DeYoung, catcher Keber Ruiz, and center fielder Jacob Young. And finally, the known bullpen and bench is as follows: Jorge Lopez, Lucas Sims, Kyle Finnegan, Derek Law, and Jose Ferrer in the bullpen. And for the bench, utility man Ahmed Rosario and outfielder Alex Call. Those are pretty much known. I mean, technically they could change it still, but we pretty much know that those guys are going to be on the roster. There's a few final cuts that are going to be coming through. First of all, you have to have a backup catcher. I'm pretty sure you can't avoid that. So right now the competition is between Riley Adams and Andrew Kisner. Adams is probably going to win that because Kisner isn't really that great at anything. So probably going to be Riley Adams. Then you have a couple bench spots left. It's basically just trying to figure. I think I'm missing a bench player, actually. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
We have Rosario, Call. We have.
Okay. Adams was the backup catcher. I'm silly.
Yeah,
So that's probably going to be Riley Adams as the third bench. And then the last bench spot's between Juan Yepes and Jose Tena. And that is an interesting call because Yepes is more proven with the bat. But if you pick him, you have no lefty bat off the bench. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. I probably would want Tena to play every day in AAA. But it definitely doesn't help to not have a lefty bat off the bench. And then finally, the bullpen, I believe, actually, we can scratch Poche off this. He's definitely on the team. He was put on the 40-man like an hour ago.
Okay.
So Poche is in. So basically there's 3 players for 2 bullpen spots. Orlando Ribalta, Eduardo Salazar, and Jackson Rutledge are those 3 guys. So one of those guys is going to be left out. So I guess I'll ask you first, what do you think of this roster? And then second, who do you think is going to make those final spots?
No, brother. I mean, like this roster is just so average. It almost hurts. And that's not to say it doesn't have upside. It certainly does, especially when you have Cruz and Wood and Garcia and Abrams in your starting lineup, and the rotation could be good. But it's just you're hoping for a lot to break right. Is kind of my point. As far as the roster battle, so to speak, it's definitely going to be Riley Adams. You know, I think it would have to be pretty obvious for whoever Kisner or whoever Millis, any catcher to really overtake Adams. It would have to be plain and obvious. So I think it's Adams. The lefty bat is a good point. I think they could probably find one somewhere, like a cut or a trade. Although with Poche getting the 40-man spot, because they had cleared one a couple days ago. I can't remember who got. I think was it Stone Garrett or someone else?
Stone got removed a couple weeks back, and then it was shoot, you're right. Somebody got
someone
taken
else,
off.
But I can't remember who.
Yeah, I don't. Well,
but anyways, they had cleared a 40-man spot, so they were at 39. So I kind of thought it was going to be reserved for, hey, this guy got cut or got released from his minor league deal. We're just gonna, similar to like a Travis Blankenhorn, like just a lefty power bat off the bench until we find something more permanent. That's kind of what I thought they were doing, but they used it for a bullpen arm. That's fine. So I would lean Tenna right now for that more versatility. I know you have Rosario on the bench who can play multiple spots, but with Nunez especially going down to AAA or being signed to AAA, I think that leans more Tenna. Whereas Yepes, like he was fine last year, but he's almost redundant. Lowe is going to get the majority of the reps at first base, and then you have Josh Bell who can also play first base. He's going to be the DH primarily. But he can also play first base probably better than Yepes can, or at least the same. So Yepes is a little redundant on this roster that already isn't very compelling in the first place, in my opinion. And that's not a shot against Juan Yepes. It's just roster construction at this point. So I think Tenna fits better for what this roster needs than anything else. And then the bullpen, it's going to be a revolving door. I think it'll be Ribalta in Salazar, I think, mainly because Rutledge, I think they're still working through making him a primary reliever, and you can better do that in AAA and give him work through the growing pains a little bit more. But I do expect to see Rutledge at some point, because it is going to be a revolving door. Like if you're just looking at the names, obviously we know Finnegan, but if you followed along in the offseason, they released him because they didn't want to pay him. Then no one else paid him, so they brought him back. We know Derek Law, but is he going to be the same Derek Law? And then everyone else, for one way or another, is just an unknown, whether they can replicate or bounce back or improve upon. So the bullpen is a huge question mark, as it always is, but this year more than anything because there's not many, if any, known commodities. So, yeah, the roster is what it is, but, my big takeaway is, let's do the just focus on starting pitching, but you can kind of apropos this to the entire roster. If you consider the starting rotation last year, it was pretty good. I think it exceeded everyone's expectations for the most part. So would you say Gore was good or bad last year? Just blanket.
He was good.
Right. Would it shock you if he was bad this year?
It would shock me if he was bad. It wouldn't shock me if he
all right, let me rephrase.
Average.
Yeah. Would it shock you if he took a step back or didn't?
Not necessarily just because the walks are still there.
Right.
That's really the big... And he did give up a lot of hits. Although, I have pointed out a few times, he had the highest BABIP in the sport, which is...
Oh, jeez.
That's unsustainable.
That doesn't help.
So,
yeah.
I'm thinking he'll probably get actually a little bit luckier. But yeah, just because the walks and the control is still not perfect, there's obviously a chance that he backslides a bit.
Okay, so stay with me. So Trevor Williams, obviously he was hurt last year, but when he came back, he was good. As much as he's annoying, he's not.
Personal issues aside.
No, well, I didn't even mean personal issues. I just mean he's not the sexiest starting pitcher.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
is
true.
a better way to say it. I don't think anyone would be surprised if he was terrible again, like he was 2 years ago. Jake Irvin, would we be surprised if he took a step back? I wouldn't be, personally.
I wouldn't be as well spring training starts, which is a little concerning.
Right, and then Soroka, who's kind of won that a spot. Would we be surprised if he doesn't bounce back and he's not very good? I wouldn't
No, because I wanted him in the bullpen in the first place.
Right, and then Mitchell Parker, who performed admirably last year. Like, would anyone be surprised if he doesn't do enough to stick in the rotation?
No, nobody would be surprised because none of them wanted him in the rotation except for me.
Right, and I think they put Hers in AAA just to, spread out the innings a little bit, and then he'll finish the year.
Yeah,
up
he's
here.
obviously
I'm pretty
gonna
confident.
come up.
So, point being, right, you have a 5-man rotation, largely consisted of guys that performed well last year, but every single one of those guys, you would not be surprised if they took a step back or took a huge step back from their 2024 performance. And that's how I feel about this roster. Like, you're hoping a bunch goes right, and it could, like, especially, some of these guys are really young, so if we're just kind of projecting in another year of development and a full year in the majors for some guys, like, they certainly could take a step forward, and I hope they do. It's just, again, you're hoping for a lot, whereas you don't have any known commodities top to bottom. Like, even Nathaniel Lowe, who's, I think right now you would have to say is probably the best player on this team. Like, he's not a proven commodity. Like, the Rangers shipped him out because he wasn't really doing what they needed him to do. And obviously they had some roster and money things to sort out down there as well. It wasn't just because he was a bad player not performing anything like that. But point being, top to bottom, we have a lot to figure out that's going to need to be figured out throughout the season, not just, the first month.
Questions. That is the name of the game with this roster.
Yep.
Each guy. I mean, I would say I'm going to go ahead and just give James Wood at least an 800 OPS and like a solid season. Like, I feel like his floor is that good. So I'll say even though he's young, and obviously I could be totally wrong, I'm gonna say he's my proven commodity in this lineup.
Well, but again, proven commodity implies you've done it before.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's going to be bad this year, but he's not proven yet.
I have my genuine belief is that his like worst hitting seasons are going to be like pretty average compared to most guys. So I compared to last year's batting lineup, not looking at rotation or pen, that this is a better team. Like, I don't think there's any real debate. Obviously we had Jesse Winker, who was good for us last year.
Yep.
But other than that, who was real? I mean, obviously we had our guys that are still in the lineup. CJ obviously had a big first half. Luis Garcia was great all throughout the year. But now you add Nathaniel Lowe in the first base spot. That's definitely an upgrade. Josh Bell is the DH. I know Josh has had some struggles. He's been kind of inconsistent, but again, I guess Winker was sort of a DH, but he was mostly left field. So we're talking about full-time DH. The Nats really haven't had one in a few seasons. So just
not since the legend Nelson Cruz.
Not since the legend of Nelson Cruz, which, yeah, we saw how that worked out.
More the ghost of Nelson Cruz.
Yeah. So obviously we're hoping that him focusing on hitting is just going to elevate his bat. And then obviously Cruz and Wood being in the starting lineup on opening day is a big upgrade. So, you're still looking at a lot of question marks there. I think we're going to be a better hitting team than last year, which obviously is not a high bar, but it's progress. Pitching is going to be interesting because, like you said, each one of those guys has a question mark about whether they can replicate what they did last year. Gore with the walks, obviously. Irvin was really, really great through his first half, but obviously he had never thrown as many innings as he threw last year, so he started to slow down. Potential fatigue happening with him could be an issue. Soroka, obviously, man, I really feel bad for Soroka because he was so good in that 2019 season and just has not been able to stay healthy. And I'm really hoping that he can stay healthy and at least be competent. I'm not expecting a sub 3 ERA or anything, but 150, 4.5, I'll take that. And then obviously Mitchell Parker, he's a young guy, so yeah, a lot of questions, but I'm a little more optimistic than I was at the beginning of last year, I will say.
Yeah, I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic, right? Because again, so much of this team is younger than it has been, at least on opening day in years past. So that leads you to believe like they will learn as they go and improve as they go. It's just we've seen so much inconsistency and for various reasons, whether it's coaching or effort or whatever it may be. I think CJ is the perfect example. There's times where CJ looks like a top 10 player in baseball, and there's times where it looks like he doesn't belong in the roster, just to put it bluntly. Like, so
Can't
it
deny
just.
that.
It's just finding the consistency, right? Progress is not linear. I'm not expecting everyone to improve week to week to week, right? There's going to be some bumps. There's going to be some droughts. That's just baseball. That's how the season goes. That's why we take averages and not just the last whatever. But we do need much more consistency across the board. I think Garcia had a really consistent season last year, which was good, but he was about the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's certain people that were consistently bad. So, yeah, cautiously optimistic, but again, we have a lot that we're going to need to figure out. So I'm not going to be optimistic in terms of adding wins to the win column. I think it's about the same, like low 70s win team again.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about this team is that there's probably a wider range of what the outcome of
Yeah,
wins
because
and
they are
losses
young
could
and
be.
inexperienced.
Yeah, because there's always the chance that all of a sudden all these guys just click at once,
yep.
and boom, we're in a wild card spot. That's obviously extremely unlikely.
It's a possibility,
but it's
especially
not
with expanded
impossible.
playoffs. Yeah,
It was probably impossible last year for us
Yeah.
to do that. So I will say we at least got that going for us. But yeah, no, I definitely all your points are valid. Like definitely a lot of questions, a lot of holes with both the roster, with the coaches, with everything. But definitely at least some guys starting the year that we know are young and fun. So entertainment wise, it should be way better. But yeah, so moving on to first, I just wanted to ask: was there a big roster snub that you thought a guy should have made the team and didn't?
snub is probably not the right word. I would have liked to have seen Stone Garrett get another shot, but I mean that's more just wishful thinking. I guess
We are on the Stone Brigade.
Yes,
so.
yes, always have been, always will be. The real one is hers, but I think I see what they're doing is more just in innings management, but rather than shutting him down in September, they're basically easing him in March and April. So I as long as that's what they're doing, I'm okay with it. But I would have hers has just as much upside as Gore, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So to have him be the guy that on the outside looking in is a little I would have used him as a reliever early in the season, and then like giving him 2-3 innings at a time, because we already need a kind of a long reliever sort of slot in our bullpen. I would have just left hers in there or gone 6-man rotation early on. There's a bunch of things you could have done that I would have preferred to see, as opposed to leaving hers, who's proven he can succeed at least in some respect at the major league level. I'd rather see him up with the major league team as opposed to down in AAA, but they could be working on something. They could just be, easing him in. As long as he's up before too long, then I don't consider it a snub necessarily. But yeah, that was the big one to me.
Yeah, I think finishing the season with the major league team is the more important thing.
Agreed.
So yeah, not necessarily a snub, but like probably is better than some guys who made the team. But yeah, obviously they
easily
they want to let,
like, genuinely speaking, again, consistency is an issue with hers and Gore, but he's the second best pitcher on this team right now.
In true talent level, I am 100% with you.
Absolutely.
100% with you.
Yeah, Irvin was much better last year in terms of like consistent, but her talent level, hers is at least number 2, and he might not even be 2.
Yeah, in terms of stuff, it's not particularly close.
Exactly.
Between him and Irvin.
Right.
My again, not really a snub, but I actually really have liked watching Nasim Nunez play in spring training. I know spring training
He's looked okay.
Yeah, I know the stats aren't really important, but in terms when I've actually watched him at the plate, he's looked hitterish. He's got a good eye up there. In terms of his bat, it's not really where his value lies, anyways. But like, at the very least, if by some miracle this team makes the wild card, you got your pinch running option. That would be Nasim Nunez. He can fly and he can steal bases. He's been doing it all spring. So there's definitely some value that they found in this Rule 5 pick. And I'm actually, this is a snub, quote unquote, but I'm actually glad that they snubbed him. I'd rather him get everyday appearances in AAA for a while.
See if we can develop the bat a little bit.
Yeah, if they really, it seems like they believe in him. If they're gonna let him play every day at AAA instead of just sticking him on the end of the bench. So that's cool. And if his bat doesn't develop, you at least know you got a speed guy. You got a guy that's pretty good with the glove. So there's at least some value there.
That reminded me, the reason they cleared up that 40-man spot is because they returned Evan Reifert. Ethan Reifert.
Right. Evan Reifert.
They returned him. That's why they had that.
Man, that was a bummer. I was actually really hoping that he would pan out because his slider is legitimately nasty, but he just could not throw it anywhere near the strike zone. And finally, we are going to get into our Nationals awards, starting off with the Nats Rookie of the Year. Now, we could do like a normal Rookie of the Year where we just say a guy who is eligible for the award, like Dylan Cruz, for example. But that's less fun, so we're going to do a guy who has yet to debut in the major leagues, so debuting this year. My Nats Rookie of the Year is going to be Brad Lord. I believe Brad Lord is a legitimately good pitcher, whether that is going to be as a reliever or as a starter. I think he's got a good 2-pitch mix with his sinker-slider combo, and I feel like he's at least got the potential. I mean, at the very least, he should be a decent middle reliever who can throw 2-3 innings, and at best, he could end up in this rotation by the end of the season. Obviously, you hope that doesn't happen because that would probably mean somebody was bad or injured, but it's just a possibility. It's a fact of baseball. So I feel like Brad Lord is probably my under-the-radar guy. I can almost guarantee he gets up to the bigs this year, and I feel like he's going to end up being pretty solid.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Certainly with the arms, like there's much more of a natural opportunity for guys to be able to come up and perform. I'm sort of taking the easy way out, but I will preface it by saying I don't know how much time he ends up. It could just be a month. It could be a couple months. But when I was trying to figure this out, I was looking for opportunity, right? Pitchers, like I said, there's much more of a natural opportunity, but I was really interested in the position players because we've seen a young guy come up the past couple of years, whether it's like Jacob Young or obviously last year was James Wood and Dylan Cruz. Like we've seen guys who end up inserting themselves into the everyday lineup by the end of the season for various reasons, trades, underperformance, injuries, whatever. So I was looking at that, and so I'm just going to take the low-hanging fruit. I don't think Paul DeJong remains on this team for the entire season. I mean, I guess if he hits home runs, he might. I'm looking at Brady House. It seems like they want Brady House up. They're just realizing they need to pump the brakes a little bit because Brady House is still only like 20 or 21. But he's already in AAA. They were really quick on the trigger with promoting him the last 2 times. So I think he's going to, if DeJong gets injured or whatever, I think they're going to have no problem calling up Brady House, and then it's just a matter of how much does he play. But I think he could easily be the most impactful 2025 debut guy on this roster.
Yeah, and also, DeJong is a perfect trade candidate as well. So
if he does perform,
he could play well and still be gone, and then we still need the third baseman.
Correct.
And that's Brady House coming up. So obvious that's more of an obvious choice, but yeah, I think it's a good pick. Like he's obviously going to play at some point.
Yeah,
they clearly believe in him the way they've moved him up. So
I'm also like just an honorable mention. I'm kind of all for like the Robert Hassel redemption-ish tour. But that I just have a tough time seeing. Aside from injury, I have a tough time seeing him this year, at least in the outfield. They love Jacob Young, and if Jacob Young can be serviceable with the bat, like there's not a real need to take him out of the lineup. You know, if he hits 180, then yes, then he's the fourth outfielder that we all kind of project him to be. But if he's hitting 250 and, you know, he's getting on base at a reasonable clip, like there's not really a huge need unless Hassel's just absolutely tearing it up. But I love that Hassel has kind of reinserted himself into the conversation after many just left him for dead last year.
Yeah, I think the next step for Hassel is getting it over a larger sample size because he was great in the Arizona Fall League, and he's been excellent in spring training. Obviously, again, spring training stats don't mean, but the process. Like I've watched him hit enough times in spring training to see it. Like his swing looks very good. So definitely excited to see what he does this year. But yeah, he's got to put it together for multiple months. That's the next step.
I'm also not falling for the Alex Call redemption tour whatsoever. You cannot fool me.
You can't. Yeah,
I've seen this story play out too many times.
As a fourth outfielder, fine. That's cool. Would not want to see him getting into the starting lineup too often, though.
Yes.
All right, so next we've got our Most Improved Award, and Nick, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it one more time.
Ready to get hurt again?
One more time. K-Bear Ruiz, come on down.
Yep.
Please.
Yep.
I know it's in there somewhere. I know it is.
It's got to be, right?
There's flashes.
It has to be.
There's flashes. There's been so many flashes. Ruiz, please, just be an above-average hitter. I don't even care about the freaking defense anymore. Just be an above-average hitter, and I'll give you the Most Improved award right now. Boom. I'm going for it one more time, ready to be hurt.
The bar is the floor, man.
It hurts. One of my least favorite picks to be a good player that hasn't panned out ever. So please, I'm giving him one more chance. That's my Most Improved.
I'm going a little bit unique with this one as well. Because, again, I actually do think more of this roster is going to remain the same as opposed to, like, last year and the year before. There was a bunch of turnover with young guys getting called up. Obviously, we imagine guys like Cruz, Wood, etc. They're going to hopefully stay. A guy like Nathaniel Lowe, like, I guess they could trade him. He's on a 1 or 2 year deal. They could trade him. I don't envision they're going to. I think they want to give him a shot to be their, guy for the next couple of years. But in terms of Most Improved, I think C.J. Abrams is going to be that guy. And by Most Improved, it's not necessarily like elevating himself to MVP, candidacy, but more so just much more consistency. Like the lows aren't going to be so low. So it'll look similar to like Luis Garcia, where, he might not be an all-star. He might not be a Silver Slugger, but like he's going to be much more consistent and hopefully, fingers crossed, like the routine errors and things like that decrease. He had a bad one the other day. But again, he's young, he's growing. We have to remember he got like little to no minor league experience, so his minor league growing pains are happening at the major league level, which is just unfortunate. But I'm trying to stay patient. I'm sure next year this time, C.J. Abrams is going to be my K.B. Ruiz, and I'm going to be ready to get hurt again. But I think C.J. is going to be a little bit more consistent this year, and he'll be much more improved because of it.
I actually really like that pick because if you look at the overall numbers from last year and without any of the context of how it happened, looks like how can you give him a Most Improved? He was an all-star. He had a 116 WRC plus, but there's clearly the consistency factor and the defense. Again, he just needs to be somewhat average on defense.
Yes, exactly.
With his bat, like you don't have to be the best. Yeah, and speed. You don't have to be the best fielding shortstop if you can hit and run like that. So that's a very interesting pick. I think there's some merit to that one for sure. Because even if he ends up around the same in terms of like his batting stats, if the defense goes up, then that is a huge win. So I'm definitely looking forward to his season. I'm really hoping that he can go the Luis Garcia route where you see a guy who's really consistent.
Yep.
Gold Glove is our next award. I think there's an obvious pick.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to pick a different pick.
K.B. Ruiz.
No. So are you going to pick Jacob Young?
No, I'm not going to because
Okay, so
it's too obvious.
let's just put that one out there. Jacob
Yeah.
Young is the de facto obvious choice here. So we're gonna skip him because clearly he's a great defender, and I'm gonna go with my man Luis Garcia Jr. At second base. He had a great season defensively last year, and considering what he looked like at shortstop the year before that, that was a huge improvement. And again, consistency, making the plays that he should make, and even adding some plays that he probably wasn't making in previous years he made last year. I don't see many second basemen do the slide play behind second base as well as Luis Garcia Jr. does it. I swear every single time there's a ball up the middle, if he can get to it on that little slide and turn and throw, that dude's out every single time. So I'm really liking where Luis is at with the glove. I feel like he's only going to get better. So give me a Gold Glove for Luis.
Yeah, I like that, and I certainly could see it. I'm, I mean, I'm kind of like looking around this roster. I'm like, all right, well, he could do it, he could do it, he could do it. But there's no one I feel like conviction for except for one guy. This is a guy. All right, well, let me ask this. When they do outfield Gold Gloves, it's not just like three outfielders like the All-Star game, right? It's usually by position.
It's by position.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right, I just wanted to make sure before I sounded stupid for my next point. There are a lot of good outfielders, especially in the National League, and it seems like they're still putting Wood in left and Cruz in right, which I would switch that, but it seems like that's what they're still going to do. Dylan Cruz is a really, really good defender. Dylan Cruz is going to be a Gold Glove winner this year. Like, I am very confident in that. Like, his range is really good, above average arm strength. Like, he's going to be so solid out there that I am almost giddy thinking about it. He should be in center field, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. When you got a center fielder playing right field, generally that's going to be a good thing. I mean, obviously you want the arm strength, which Cruz does have as a right fielder. But yeah, he could easily play center field if he wanted.
Yeah,
or if they wanted him to.
Dylan Cruz is my pick. He didn't have the most offensive success last year, but I think the defense is that's natural to him. Like he's just a really, really good defender. He's center field trained. He's going to be able to play right field every day at a really high clip. And we know the Gold Glove is just as much an offensive award as it is a defensive award. So as long as he can swing it decently well, he should have no problem winning that Gold Glove.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think everyone's pretty much aware that he's only in right field just because of roster construction.
Yep.
Obviously good enough to play center. And moving on to our Cy Young Award. This is an interesting pick because, like we were talking about earlier, there's upside and downside to almost every single guy, rotation or bullpen, that you can think of. I am going to go with the obvious choice here. I'm going to go with Mackenzie Gore because I don't really see another player besides hers. But again, he's starting AAA, so that kind of hurts his chances to get to his potential upside. Obviously, the walks are still a problem. The hits are still a problem. But if some of those luck stats even out and he continues to dominate in terms of strikeouts, I feel like he's pretty much the only guy that could get Cy Young votes on this team unless hers comes up early and starts dominating quickly. But yeah, obvious, but I really don't know if there's another guy that can do it.
Well, you set me up because I'm going DJ Hers.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about it earlier, like the snub, not snub kind of thing. But again, I'm just gonna choose to take the path that they have vision for them for Hers, in that bring him along slowly, and then you can kind of let him loose down the stretch and towards the end of the season, right? So whereas based on what we've seen from Gore so far, like it's inconsistency. There's flashes of brilliance, but then there's the walk parade where you can't get out of the third inning. And Hers certainly has that as well. But last year we saw Hers multiple times go through like 5 innings, like 10 strikeouts, just an absolute masterpiece. And again, that just goes to the talent and the stuff So he can, if we're going off like a pure Cy Young award, to like just best pitcher, I think he might emerge as the best pitcher and have, in a backwards way, the best chance to do it, because they are bringing him along slowly and he isn't going to have all those inconsistencies, at least at the major league level. Hopefully, maybe. So
Yeah, again, all a question mark here.
Right. But I like DJ Hers.
Yeah, I think those two guys are pretty much the only guys that have a chance
I tend to agree.
Get votes, basically. And then finally, the big one, the Team MVP award. I think there's a couple guys that could do this. I mean,
Arguments for sure.
Obviously, arguments for CJ if he goes first half CJ all season. Dylan Cruz, huge upside. Nathaniel Lowe has had big seasons before hitting, so that's definitely a possibility. But I mean, I feel like the choice is James Wood here, because he can do everything. Obviously, the defense is still being worked on, but I feel like he has potential to be at least an average defender. And if you get that, my God, the ability that this dude has at the plate and running. It's so funny watching him run because he looks like he is slow, but his strides. He's got the longest legs you've ever seen. So he could easily go have 40 stolen bases this year. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious on the home run total just because he's not quite gotten in the habit of pulling fly balls yet. But gap to gap doubles, he could have 40, 50 doubles if he plays every game. So I feel like in terms of upside, obviously he has the most upside of any player on the Nats roster, but definitely like maybe even around the league. I mean, the dude is just a freak athlete. So I'm going James Wood. I know that's kind of a boring pick. So maybe you can give the people a more entertaining one.
Well, I was going to go entertaining. I was like, nah, I'm just going to go with my normal one.
I want to be right.
Yeah. Well, so my pick is, do I want to do it? You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go Nathaniel Lowe.
Okay. I love it.
I think change of scenery is a real thing. I think also the arbitration battle is a real thing in terms of pissing a guy off and motivating him. So both of those apply to Lowe. He gets traded to a new team and is immediately in an arbitration hearing for over like $800K.
Yeah.
Might have even been less than that. And when I say MVP, I'm using the pure sense of value, not necessarily like offensive output. Because if we're going off that, Wood is the obvious choice. Cruz is right there. Abrams is right there. But again, all of those guys are so freaking young that, you know, they could do it right away. But not everyone does it right away, and that's okay. You do need a vet. And someone like Josh Bell or Paul DeYoung, they're on the wrong side of their prime. I think they would even admit that. Whereas Nathaniel Lowe should be right smack dab in the center, right? So it's a new team, new situation, and he's going to be one of the leaders in terms of like experience and seasoned that he hasn't been before, because he's had like guys like Corey Seager and Marcus Semien who've been doing it for so long around him as he was coming up that he didn't need to be, but he gets to be that on this team. So again, I'm going off pure value, similar to, think of like a Jesse Winker, but plays really good defense last year. Like Jesse Winker was incredibly valuable to this team. Was he, you know, the best player in terms of offensive output? No, but he was incredibly valuable. So that's kind of what I'm going with Nathaniel Lowe. He's going to be valuable on defense, valuable in the middle of the order, whether it's fourth or somewhere nearby, and then obviously just the mentorship to the young guys and taking on a leadership role, but also hopefully performing in his own right as well. So Nathaniel Lowe is finally like the leadership guy that isn't at the tail end of his career like we've been doing with the Nelson Cruzes of the world for years now. So yeah, Nathaniel Lowe, I'm gonna go MVP.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love what you're saying. He's right in the middle of his prime right now. He's not on the other side of his prime where guys would be like, all right, well, you're just some old guy. I don't need to listen to you.
Taking up a spot, yeah.
Instead, it's a guy who's been a legitimate all-star and is right in the middle of this. It's going to make this team better. And I love what you said about leadership, because there was something he said about leadership. I watched him talk with Chris Rose a while back. I think before spring training started, he was talking about the trade and how he's a veteran guy in that clubhouse and how he's going to embrace that role. So he's definitely, and again, like you said, in terms of value to the team, that is a great pick, because even if he's not the best hitter, he's still probably going to be pretty good. He gets up to the plate and he's a grinder, absolutely giving everyone on the team a good look at the pitcher, because he's going to work 8-9 pitch at bats. He's a great defender. He's going to save errors over there for some of those young guys. So, once those young guys start seeing how he operates and seeing how they can trust him, I feel like that's going to be a positive development for all of those guys. I'm hoping, obviously, you never know, but I feel like from what he's said and how he's acted previously in his career, this is a good move in terms of, offensive output, but also in terms of culture and clubhouse and all of that good stuff. So I actually love that pick. It's way more entertaining than my James Wood pick.
Well, I don't think James Wood is a bad pick whatsoever. I mean, I think
it's the boring pick, but yeah.
I think are we doing bold predictions in any way?
If you want.
I mean, all right, then I'll give you one right here. Granted, I do get a little bit of help because every team has to be represented at the All-Star game. So I know there's at least a chance. I just need a chance. James Wood is going to be an All-Star this year. I'm pretty firm in that conviction. James Wood is going to be an All-Star this year.
Yeah, I mean, especially if we can keep up the wins, at least, keep it around 500 like we sort of did, but we kind of fell off towards the end of the first half last year. Obviously winning helps you get more guys on the team, so that would just give them a better chance.
Hopefully.
I think my bold prediction last year actually came true. I'm pretty sure I said Luis Garcia was going to have like 3 WAR, and I said that as a joke, and then he did it.
Yeah.
so
make another joke.
Sometimes those bold predictions come true. Let me think of one.
Yeah.
What do I got?
Hopefully, I'll never forget this. And granted, I think we all understood what was going on, but 2 years ago when Josiah Gray was the only representative, Davey's announcement to the team, they posted on social media like it was going to be this big thing. Davey even said, he's like, well, every team has to be represented. Our representative is Josiah Gray. Like, that's literally how he said it. I'm just like, holy hell, dude. Like, It could not be any less hype of a moment. But
I feel like we will it'll hopefully be a little bit more hype this year.
Yes, agreed.
For sure. But yeah, so I think our final prediction here is going to be, what do we think this team's record is going to be? I'll let you go first. What are you thinking about the record?
Sometimes, in order to figure out what's going to happen next, you have to first observe what happened last. This team's winning 71 games for the 3rd year in a row.
The three-peat.
Yep.
The three-peat,
they're going
baby.
Full Chris Davis. That's Chris with a K, the former
247.
Athletic.
Yeah,
he hit 247 for like 4 or 5 years in a row. The Nats are that, but in team form, they're winning 71 games for the 3rd year in a row.
This is exactly what I was hoping to hear. Obviously, got to go with the narratives, got to go with the meme. I'm not going to do that because you already did it. I'm going to go a little bit more optimistic. I wanted to go 80. I really, really wanted to go to 80 wins. I'm not going to do it, though. 78 wins is my pick. I think they're not quite there yet, but they're getting there. They're close. Next year, I mean, I feel like it should have been this year where we had more free agents, but like we said, we'll get into that at a totally different time. Next year, you have to go big in the free agent market, whether this team even performs that well or not, because at this point, you're 5 years into a rebuild. Like, you have to try and make something happen. So, I'm going 78 wins, and next year is the year that they finally break that 500 mark.
Can't wait to be having this conversation a year from now, saying the same things.
We'll see. I mean, hey, they've been consistent the last 2 years in terms of the record, so maybe we'll see another 71. That would be pretty funny.
So I mean, yeah, that would be funny. So a 7-game improvement. What are you thinking is like the big difference? Are you thinking it's all offensively? Are you thinking the pitching staff is just more consistent? Like, where do they get the other 7 wins?
Yeah, it's the offense here.
Okay.
Having Cruz
certainly
and
better
Wood,
on paper than it was to start last year.
Yeah, having your guys already up, already with some experience. That's a big deal. Yeah, obviously, CJ had a great first half, so he's capable of being a really good offensive player. Luis Garcia is a great, consistent offensive player for last year. So I feel like, and then you probably have some more homers here. I mean, I know Lowe isn't the biggest home run threat, but he's still better than what we've had. And then DeYoung is basically all he can do at the plate is hit homers because he strikes out so much. But they should hit more homers. They should score more runs. And again, that's not a huge improvement because they were like at the bottom of the league last year. But give me the number 20.
Yep.
The number 20 offense. I feel like that is going to be good enough with the way that the pitchers have improved. Obviously, they probably overperformed pitching-wise last year, so there could be some backslide. But I feel like they're still good enough to where it shouldn't be that dramatic of a backslide. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the offense is going to be better, and that's going to help us win some more games.
So I agree with that. I just think... So I agree that the offense will be better, but I think the pitching takes a step back, particularly in the bullpen. I think the bullpen already was not great last year, and it's gotten markedly worse, at least entering the season this year, and you're going to lose a lot of games late that you might have had, a 3-run home run in the first inning or two that gives you an early lead. But then the bullpen blows it. I can see that happening a lot more. And then obviously, like we talked about, we have volatility in the rotation. So we will have some masterful performances, and then we'll have some, God, can we please get out of the third inning for the love of God?
Yeah, it's totally fair.
Yeah, but we also don't have Patrick Corbin anymore, so maybe that's where the 7 wins come from.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we siphon those from the Rangers.
Yeah, so something like that. But yeah. So, no, just curious, because, I do think that the team is better on paper than it was last year, but there's plenty
That's why they play the games.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, that was our final predictions. This is going to be coming out tomorrow, which is Sunday the 23rd. The first game is on Thursday the 27th, taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Mackenzie Gore versus Zach Wheeler. I guess we'll go ahead and we'll do one more prediction. Opening day, what are you thinking about Mackenzie Gore's final line?
Okay. Well, I mean, can we just do 2 more predictions and do World Series predictions too?
I guess.
Hell yeah. Let's just do it all.
Yeah, why not?
All right, Mackenzie Gore. He's going to go 4 2/3. I think Davey tries to let him go through 5, as Davey tends to do, but the pitch count gets up there a little bit. But I think it's still a respectable outing. I'm going to say 4 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 4 walks, and 6 punchies.
4 walks, 6 punchies. Okay, I'm going to go... He gets through 5, 2 runs, 7 punchies, 4 walks.
Okay.
And... yeah, 4 hits. Why not?
Yeah, because I don't think... I mean, the Phillies certainly could hit anyone well, but the hits aren't what I'm concerned about with Gore. It's the walks and control. So I'll say like 52% strikes. Like it's gonna be,
that's
gonna be a little wild.
That's a reasonable prediction. I would say for opening day.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, what did you want to predict? Pennant and World Series.
Yeah. Let's do it. I mean, I really don't want to go Dodgers again. Like, it's just so boring. Like, if we're just kind of following our current path where, like, we don't take the obvious choice, then I guess, let's see. Well, I guess I can start with the AL. Who do I like in the AL? I mean, I don't think the Yankees are going to be that good. I would love for the Mariners to get their act together because they have the best rotation in baseball. They just don't really, appreciate it, I guess.
Yeah, no, they don't help it.
Yeah. I mean, I think my real prediction is going to be Dodgers over Yankees again. Although, no, Garrett Cole's out. We'll go, you know what? I'm going to go Dodgers over Red Sox. Because I think the Red Sox are due for that one random year where they're really good. Yeah, and I think the Red Sox are going to be good because they've improved their team, but also they've got one of the best farm systems in the sport right now. Yeah. So that's going to help them. So they could get
Dodgers
I'll just leave
over
it at
Red
that.
Sox.
Dodgers
You're going,
over Red Sox.
Revenge of the 2018 World Series, huh? Okay.
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Dodgers are the clear, on paper, best team in the sport. They obviously won the World Series last year, but that's lame. Get those guys out of here. I'm going somebody else.
Don't blame you at
I'm
all.
going somebody else. In the AL, I'm also going somebody else. I'm going to go with a fun team because I really like the Royals. And I feel like they overperformed last year, but it was a good thing because it helped some of their young guys get that playoff experience, and they're only going to get better, I feel like.
Yeah.
So they're going to be in serious contention for the AL Central crown, which should be a fun battle again. And then I feel like they're going to, they won a playoff series last year, so that's a good start for them. It's only going to help. So give me the Royals out of the AL in the World Series, and out of the National League. I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do it.
It's a pick your poison kind of thing.
Give me the Mets.
That's what I'm saying is a pick your poison because
if
it's not the Dodgers, it's coming out of the NL East. I actually do kind of like the Reds this year, just as a little sneaky team with Tito managing them.
And my under the radar squad is the Giants. I think if obviously their rotation has a lot of questions, but
I think the Diamondbacks have to be in that conversation. Corbin Burns.
The NL West is really good too.
Yeah, so Corbin Burns coming in, and they were just in the World Series 2 years ago. So if Corbin Carroll bounces back, Ketel Marte continues on, they could easily be back into it.
There's definitely some NL West teams to look out for, but the NL East is just a bloodbath. And for some reason, I'm high on the Mets this year. I mean, they've had some pitching injuries already, so I should be a little bit more cautious. But I don't know. I feel like their run last year is going to propel them in terms of momentum this year. That's my weird pick, but I think Royals, Mets. Give me the 2015 rematch. How about that?
Oh, that would be something. Bold prediction: Mets miss the playoffs.
Okay.
That was not a you thing. That just I would love to see the Mets miss the playoffs.
Hey, they've been in and out.
Right.
They've been in and out. They had a roster like this 2 years ago. Missed the playoffs, won 78 games or something. So
I'm looking forward to it. I need it. It's food for the soul.
I agree with you. I'm hoping that all the NL East teams just suck and we can just walk
sneak
to
right
the
in.
NL East title.
Nats first team in MLB history to win their division at 78 games.
Yeah, losing record. All right. So if it's Royals Mets in the World Series, give me the Royals because I don't want the Mets to win.
Correct. That's the right pick.
Yeah. So you got what you said, Red Sox, Dodgers. Who's gonna win?
Yeah, I'm still gonna go Dodgers over Red Sox. Yeah.
The dynasty truly gets started.
Yeah, it's gonna be some like Chiefs, Warriors type dynasty bullshit that everyone gets tired of immediately. That's what we're in for with the Dodgers.
Hey man, I love the villain though.
Yeah, baseball's better with the villain. So
if we all 29 other teams, we are going to rally and get behind ultimate hater energy of the Dodgers for the next decade. So that's how you bring people together. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think we're done now with our predictions, and we'll be. I don't know how often Nick will be on, but I will be posting updates throughout the season for the Nats, and also some MLB, but mostly Nats stuff. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Like I said, follow us on Twitter at DistrictBSB and follow me at Reverse2Rs2Ss. You want to plug your Twitter, or do you even really care about Twitter?
I don't even really check Twitter anymore, so I appreciate you guys. I will pop in from time to time. Obviously, like I said, coaching's taking up all my time currently, but excited to see the Nats this season and obviously follow along and see what else is going on around the league. So I'll definitely pop in from time to time.
Yep, and we will. We're going to be trying to post more on Twitter throughout the year. So, like I said, follow us at DistrictBSB for that. In the meantime, though, let's go Nats and let's go baseball.